1. My roomies, roomie X, Y, and Z. So, a few days into us moving in, roomie Z lost 2 of her things she left out on the counter. She had a party with a bunch of friends over. Anyway, she asks us, we all say we haven't seen it. Me, roomie X, and Y get close as we're hanging out a lot and doing stuff together. A week or so later, and me and roomie X and Y are hanging out, and Y goes, "That's my bracelet, the one on my wrist," and I'm like, "No, I bought it from Walmart like a day or 2 ago." And she goes, "It's not mine," and pulls out pics of her wearing it. It's those knockoff Van Cleef bracelets. And I was like, whatever, because it was barely like $8. She claims it's gold, it's custom made, and everything. She asks for proof it's mine, and I'm like, well, I went to Walmart with a friend, and I probably have a receipt. Later I realized I don't, because I only got 2 things, and I'm not someone who prints receipts. She says the receipt wouldn't help anyways, because it just says bracelets, and not what kind specifically. I said, okay, well, I'm sorry, but then I leave because I don't know what else to do. And I had an early class the next day. A week or 2 goes by, and I've been busy, but I tried to ask her if she could talk. After roommate X says I don't want to pick sides, and you guys should talk it out. Roommate Y only talks to me with roommate X there, which I'm not a fan of. But I guess we're all friends, so I don't know. Anyways, I text her, we talk, she ends up saying, "I know you took it, stop denying it, and you don't have any proof, blah blah." So I respond, "I don't really know what to do, but I could look for it online or something." She says hers is custom made because it has a little flower charm at the end or something. And I think the only way it could be hers is if our 2 bracelets got mixed up somehow. But I can't find the other one in my room, and she said she looked, but I don't know if she did because she still says that's hers. Anyways, I apologize, and she says, "You still think this bracelet is yours, that's not okay." And I'm so confused because A, I have apologized for no reason, and B, you have it with you, so we don't talk for another week, and things between me and roomie X are tense now too, because they hang out a lot with me now. I'm in 18 hours and work 2 jobs, so I have no time to myself even. They're not even as busy, and are just always hanging out low-key. I've been in between classes, work, and my room, and don't hang out with almost anyone because of exams and stress in general. Anyways, roomie Y knocks on my door yesterday, and goes off about how I'm not making an effort to clear my innocence, or whatever, and is mad about why I haven't looked for it online and everything. And I tell her about how busy I am, and roomie X chimes in, "Why have you been avoiding us?" And I'm like, oh, shut up. I literally say hi when I come in anyways. Long conversation short, we decide on if I don't or can't find it online by the end of this week, we'll go talk to management together. And I don't know what we're going to talk about because she has her bracelet with her, so what? I tell her that, and she still insists, so I say, okay, whatever, fine. Then I tell her I have to get ready to go out, and I close my door. A few minutes later, roomie X knocks and goes off about how I'm making it worse because I won't talk to them, and I'm not prioritizing the friendship we had. After telling her how busy I am with school and work, and how I'm being selfish and throwing away our friendship, I got mad because she wouldn't let me talk, and kept repeating herself. And I said it wasn't a priority comparatively to everything else I have going on. Then she gets mad and goes, "Oh wow, okay." And anyways, I get even more mad because I'm running late. She then goes to roomie Y, who is also missing other stuff, putting the blame on me for roomie Z's stolen stuff. It's a Polaroid camera. I think we have the same color, but mine's from many years ago, and it has scratches, and I have actual Polaroid pics from the Polaroid everywhere in my walls, so what the hell? I close my door, and I'm like, I don't want to talk, because they start this nonsense, and I just say, let's talk to management next weekend or so. Anyways, what do I do? I know things don't look that great for me because I can't prove myself, but why would I wear something I stole from her when hanging out with her? Also, what's management going to do? Make me move out? That's so unfair because I've literally just been minding my own business and haven't even been in their way or anything. Also, lock your doors? If you're that suspicious of me stealing stuff from you, why can't you lock your doors? And if you do, then how did I steal it? Hellfreezer's note. Firstly, these psychos are clearly not your friends. There's no friendship to salvage there. They're not acting like friends. They're acting like catty little bitches, quite frankly. The girl has the bracelet. There's no problem to be resolved there. Unless she has yours, I'm a little uncertain on what happened there, but you did say she had her bracelet, so there's really no issue. As for finding it online, yeah, maybe do that. But at the end of the day, if you do have the option of moving out, that would definitely be better for you, I think. Doesn't sound like a healthy situation for you to be in. Well, good luck with whatever happens, and may you not have to suffer those fools much longer. 2. My current roommate recently accused me of leaving the front door unlocked. If I did, then it was a simple mistake, and a rare one at that. I don't believe I did because I'm very meticulous about locking upon entering and leaving, and double-checking upon going to bed. My roommate has, on occasion, also left the door unlocked. It hasn't happened enough for me to think it's a major problem, but I mentioned it anyway since she brought it up. She then insisted she would never leave the door unlocked. I'm baffled by this response. We are human and thus fallible. My roommate has also been showing paranoid behavior, like accusing me of stealing her mail, or going into her room and stealing petty things like hair ties, tissues, etc. I do not do this. I have my own stuff, and I take care of myself. Why would I need hers? These accusations have caused me severe stress and anxiety at a time when I'm trying to heal from a recent breakup with an emotionally abusive ex. It turns out my roommate is also emotionally abusive. What's even more ironic is when she interviewed me, she repeatedly mentioned not wanting a roommate who is crazy. My roommate insults me by calling me weird, and patronizes me and gaslights me when I try to communicate with her about anything. For example, she called me demanding simply for asking for one of the lights just outside my room to be turned off so I could sleep, since I have to leave my door ajar so my cat can get in and out. The light was getting in and keeping me awake. It was almost midnight at this point, and she was in the living room, insisting that she needs to study. She had been there all day. I wasn't even asking her to turn all the lights off, just the one. She gives unsolicited advice like, you might want to avoid talking on your phone in the apartment for privacy reasons. She said she always takes her phone calls outside of the apartment. No. I pay rent and have the right to talk on my phone in my room during the appropriate hours. She has accused me of talking nasty behind her back. The most I've ever done was vent to my mom on the phone a few times about some stressful things, and I would do that in my room. The only way my roommate could hear me is if she was actively listening in my conversations, which is an invasion of privacy. She often ignores my texts and avoids talking to me in person. She even stood me up after finally agreeing to have an in-person meeting to address some concerns. When I mentioned some things that needed attention from maintenance, she asked for documentation in the form of pics or video. When I sent that to her, she responded with accusing me of breaking those things because, according to her, they were in perfect condition before I moved in. Her claims are completely false. So many things were not fixed when I moved in, including expired fire alarms that would no longer hold battery without chirping. I asked for them to be fixed, and she said she told maintenance, but they never came. She refused to give me the maintenance number or the landlord's number. Her excuse was, "It's not necessary since you need to go through me anyway for anything." I reluctantly accepted. I really just wanted to keep the peace, and she seemed to have difficulty dealing with any pushback from me. I also found out that the sublease we both signed was never given to her landlord. She claimed that this too isn't necessary. Yet upon doing research, it seems to be the consensus that the landlord should be aware of and have a signed copy of the lease for any sublet. She said the landlord knows about me, but now I have serious doubts. I have never met the landlord. Since then, I have been wondering whether my roommate is a scammer. I found her ad on Craigslist. That probably was my first mistake answering that ad. I'm so sick of this lying, bullying, delusional person. Now she just asked me to leave because I stood up for myself after she accused me once again of things I'm not doing. Since I'm subletting, she has the authority to ask me to leave. It's causing me a ton of stress trying to find a new place for me and my cat. I'm going to lose money in this process, and I was barely scraping by making rent as it is. I've only just begun picking up more work recently. Honestly, though, I can't wait to be far away from her. 3. Long story short, I've been living with this person for almost 2 years now. In the beginning, me and her got along fine. We were pretty good friends. For context, I live with 4 others, including her. Sarah. We would all hang out as a household. We would have daily conversation, everything was fine. But as time went by, our interactions became less and less as school was starting. I work full-time plus do school, and they don't work. So we just slowly stopped hanging out. Regardless, I kept on having regular roomy banter. How was your day? What are you up to? Etc. Sarah would engage as well. A few months go by. Sarah starts being weird and not saying much, just kinda giving an occasional nod or wave when I try to engage in conversation. I thought this was a little odd and continually asked if we were good or if I did anything, and she always kept it short and precise. Yep, cool, was all that seemed to leave Sarah's mouth. I admit it began to peeve me, but I tried not to take things too personally. I figured they might have been going through a rut or just not feeling convo with me, which was fine. But I'm the type of person who is constantly keeping myself in check and making sure I don't do anything wrong to bother her. Genuinely couldn't come up with anything. A few more months go by, and Sarah and I completely stop talking because at this point, she just straight up doesn't even respond when I say hello anymore. She stops even looking me in the eye. It was so weird. Literally out of nowhere, I kept getting the vibe that Sarah did not like me at all. She would walk out of the room when I would walk in, and just seemed to be avoiding me at all costs. This now exacerbates to her quite literally shoulder-checking me every time I walk by her. She became a complete bully who was non-verbal around me, and refused to have a conversation about it. She stopped even talking to anyone that came over as my guest. It was insane. However, she continued having normal, regular conversations, hanging out, and everyday positive interactions with everyone else we live with. I'm really close to everyone else we live with, except for Sarah. I couldn't seem to figure out what I had done, and my roommate said that she hasn't said anything to them about it. So on to the dirt. I went to use the restroom 2 days ago. I understand this is so morally incorrect, but something overtook me and I just had to check. There was a journal sitting on the counter, so I opened the journal. The first thing I see is my name written a bunch of times. I naturally go through and read the entire page and realize that it's Sarah's. I keep reading through the notebook. There are 18 pages, front and back, about how much she hates me. How much she hates who I am, what I look like, what I do for work. Literally work to help get foster kids out of the system and into safe homes. The list just keeps going on. I flipped through the book, and there is nothing except for journal entries about me. The rest of the notebook is blank. There is an entire page about manifestations of me dying and how they wish I would leave this earth. They talk about me being petty. They think I'm competitive. I have no ambition in life, and that I'm this huge, manipulative, evil, toxic person. It's horrible. However, amidst all this, there is no reason why. There is no, they did this to me, that's why I hate her. She did whatever to me, so that's why I ignore her. There is, and I quote a line that says, I try not to even look at her. I honestly try not to even talk to her. There is genuinely so much in that notebook that hurts my feelings terribly. They talk about our friendship and how much they love everyone, and they will have a list equally as long as that one, except it's about hating me. There's a lot more I could go into about the lore of all of it, but I'm trying not to write a book. So as of today, our lease doesn't end until November 2025, and I don't know if I should break the lease or not, and move out with my other roommates besides Sarah. I have never once even had a tussle or a disagreement with the others. We love each other so much, and when Sarah enters the room, you could cut the tension with a knife. There's a part of me that hopes she would never do anything to me but physically shoulder-checking me every time we're in the same space, straight up ignoring me whenever I make conversation, and then finding this journal. It makes me feel uneasy. So what you think? Hellfreezer's note. I saw people comment this on Reddit, and I do agree. I don't think it was accidental that you found that notebook. If you still have it, I'd show it to your other housemates. That is psychopathic behavior. I don't know if it would be worth going to the police over that, but you should definitely show your other roommates. It almost seems like she's chosen to paint you as the villain in the little play that is her life. Maybe you're just winning so hard and she feels inadequate against you. That could really be it. You're achieving things, having the kind of success that she, from her point of view, can only dream of. But that's speculation. I don't know that for sure. She sounds like a very unstable individual, and I wouldn't feel safe living with her. So you have one of two options. You can either break your lease and deal with the consequences down the line. It will affect your credit score, of course. Or you can get your roommates on your side and drive her out. I think that would be the better option, as you deserve to retain your friends through all of this. Best of luck. 4. To begin, this is more my boyfriend's problem. I'm female. We're both 22. But being that he's been struggling and looking for advice, we want an outsider's perspective. I'm going to refer to my boyfriend as Cass. We both graduated high school in 2020, and because of this, he wanted to focus on earning money while working at UPS before solidifying his plans for the future. He then ended up starting a manual labor job in a different shipping company in 2021. When we began dating in 2022, he had just been promoted to an office job within the company and was quickly granted work-from-home privileges. We both live with our parents, and he essentially has his apartment, kitchenette, bathroom, bedroom, etc. in the basement. However, not long after he began working from home, he quickly lost weight and began having heart palpitations. He was diagnosed with a severe case of hyperthyroidism and had to complete a radioactive iodine treatment that left him isolated for almost 2 weeks. Between the lack of social interaction at work and his health issues, he became depressed and was eventually fired from his job. He spent almost 2 months completing applications and interviewing, but was only given one job offer in a night shift position. He felt he had no other option than to accept the position, but he thoroughly enjoys his occupation now and the people he works with. However, he has continued to struggle with feeling trapped in the basement and feeling like it could be holding him back. He has shown strong interest in joining the military, Air Force or Navy, but he doesn't feel that he's ready, or he'll say he wants to wait until we get married so I can go with him and there'll be better housing opportunities. I agreed to this, however. I want to graduate from college beforehand. I'm set to graduate in the fall of 2025. He was understanding and respected this. Now on to the dilemma. Last month I made the impulsive decision to request a break between the two of us. Without asking, I demanded he take 2 weeks to figure his stuff out and essentially mature the way I wanted him to. That included finding a new job. He had said this night shift position was temporary before he began enjoying it, and we have had less time together because of his hours. And talking to a recruiter, we weren't sure if he would qualify because of his thyroid. While I thought I was pushing him to be better, I realized now that I was being unreasonable and an ultimatum wouldn't change anything. The break was miserable for both of us. After I decided to start therapy and see a psychiatrist, we decided to move forward and work together through our problems. During this break, he was informed that 2 of his closest friends would be moving in together. They had originally planned on moving to a different city, away from Cass for better business opportunities, a fresh start, etc. But their apartment fell through and they decided to stay in their hometown. Cass confided in them about our break, and they asked if he would be interested in moving in with them. They had assumed that he wouldn't be interested while we were dating. They have not retracted this offer since we decided to stay together. Cass said he would consider it, but was unsure. Unemployment drained all of his savings, and while he's able to save around $1,000 a month, If he decided to move out, his budget would only allow for around $400 a month for his savings. My concern about him moving in with his friends is that I have heard horror stories of friendships ending over living together and or sharing finances. When he's asked about managing chores, groceries, having me over, etc., his friends have said that they would just figure it out, and they weren't very concerned about it. When he originally started talking about moving in with them, he said he wanted to be sure that he liked everything about the apartment, and was 100% sure before committing. After looking at 2 different apartments, he seemed hopeful about moving into the second, with no plans on continuing his search. This concerned me. I began asking Cass why he wanted to leave his current situation. His main reason is because he wants to use this opportunity as a rebirth of his life. He believes that if he is forced to mature by managing rent, roommates, chores, etc., he won't feel stagnant in the way he has since high school. While I agreed with this, I expressed my concerns about his finances and friendships. These are the only remaining friends he has in his hometown. The only other close friend he maintains contact with lives in Florida, and they've had temporary distance due to the recent birth of his child. After diving deeper, he feels that if he doesn't move in with his friends, they will become distant from him and or leave him behind. He is embarrassed to be the only non-college graduate and feels that being the only one still living with his parents will further this divide. In addition to this, his mother has difficulty maintaining appropriate boundaries, and will often come down to the basement without a heads up, which has led to her walking in on me in a towel or waking us up while we're sleeping together. He feels that it is easier to move out of her house instead of addressing these issues. He has described remaining passive since graduation and wants to take some risks. While I understand and respect his perspective, I worry that this risk will lead to him draining his savings and causing irreparable damage to his friendships. He has confided in me about feeling left out when his friends make plans without him, increase their responsibilities, or don't maintain consistent contact. I believe moving in will be a temporary fix for a deeper-rooted issue. I support his decision either way, but I want him to consider all possibilities and acknowledge all outcomes. I have also encouraged him to join the military earlier, and we can get married after he completes boot camp and training, which can take months. They made him this offer 3 weeks ago, and it has been causing extreme anguish. He has been struggling to eat or sleep due to anxiety and uncertainty. I have suggested taking a few months to increase his savings, which he was just able to get over the $1,000 threshold, and iron out the boundaries and rules of living together, before taking the next steps. However, his friends have been ready to move out for several months now, and are anxious to start the next steps. I've encouraged him to start therapy as well, but he says he won't be able to afford it should he move out. What we're asking is the risk worth the reward? I'm posting this September 16th, and the soonest they could move in would be 2 weeks, which they are considering. In your experience, how has moving in with friends gone? And some additional information, we maintain a mid-distance relationship, 45 minutes one way, and we found what's easiest for us is for me to spend weekends with him at his house. However, if either of us wants to make plans with our friends, we will skip a weekend of only spending 1 day together. In addition, we share a cat, and this has been a topic of concern. His roommates have no issue with him bringing the cat, but the pet fee will add $20 to $30 to the original cost of the rent. His friends agreed he could have the largest room because of this. Any advice is welcomed and appreciated. We will be going on your comments together to get an unbiased perspective. Thank you. Hellfreezer's note. I've been doing these stories for a while now, and one thing that is a very consistent repeated theme is you just shouldn't move in with your friends. Oftentimes, I'm not saying it always happens, I'm sure there's stories out there that don't get shared because everything worked out fine, where it only brought people closer together moving in together. But I really cannot encourage it. I think it would be a bad choice. It does run the risk of ruining the friendship and putting unneeded financial strain on him, especially if Cass, obviously that's not his real name, but if he has to then move out because the situation didn't work out, that'll be even more financial burden. I'd stick to the current plan. I'd stay where he is for now. He's planning to join the military. Just make sure his thyroid condition won't be a problem. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if it would be, but I would check that just to be sure. And just continue with your original plan. I think that's going to work out best for you, so moving right now would be an unneeded disruption. 5. Definitely a weird situation, but I'm living with my family. I have health issues and high medical bills. I'm in grad school and cannot afford to live on my own at this time, who are renting out the 2 extra bedrooms in our house to tenants. I've considered these tenants as friends to me, at least until the most recent unfortunate events, which have made things terribly uncomfortable. This one tenant, Lisa, has a lot of mental issues. She has severe OCD and PTSD and anxiety. She had a few mental-related breakdowns that involved her acting extremely scary and unhinged in the house with a bunch of knives, and I almost called the cops because it freaked me out. Lisa also had her boyfriend, Ishan, who is married, but supposedly separated, with a wife and kid who doesn't know about her in another country move into our home. My parents allowed him to move in at first because we thought it would be a short transitional period, and we also didn't know all the details about his complicated situation. We thought he would be there for a few weeks, maybe a month or so. Ishan ended up staying for a lot longer, 9 months in total, and at first my parents were okay with it. Rent was increased slightly for utilities, but then things got weird. Let me explain. During the entire time he was there, he made zero effort to look for a longer-term or more permanent living situation, despite that being the plan from the beginning. He kept making comments alluding to how he would still be living here in a few years, which was definitely not the original agreement we had. I found out that Lisa was paying for rent entirely. We were under the impression that they were splitting the rent, and that Ishan kept saying he was broke all the time, while sending all his money back to his home country, including his family, who do not know about Lisa. Ishan owns a $40,000 gold car and a $7,000 gold wedding chain, which he still wears around his neck. He constantly talks about how he's broke and cannot afford to pay any rent, and would be homeless without Lisa's help, but he is unwilling to even consider selling these luxury items to help pay. Not to mention how disgusting and crazy it is to wear his wedding chain he claims he is separated from his wife, while dating Lisa and exploiting her financially. Ishan claims he needs to pay for all his siblings' weddings, which will cost altogether $100,000. So instead of being able to help Lisa with rent, he is paying for lavish and extravagant weddings that his family clearly cannot afford, just to maintain the image of wealth and status. I'm not sure if I believe this story, but that's supposedly one of the reasons why he's constantly broke, despite having a full-time job. Meanwhile, Lisa has been having several financial-related mental breakdowns, which she's opened up to me about. She is constantly stressed about money, talks about how she can't afford anything, and she is under a lot of financial strain. Ishan is admitted to being aware of, and to some degree, participating in tax fraud. His employer is evading hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes with his employer. Ishan got Lisa's name tattooed on his chest 2 weeks after they first started dating. This really freaked her out, and made her feel somewhat stuck and pressured to move too quickly into the relationship. Ishan moved into our house after he had a mental breakdown where he quit his job and left his apartment within the same day. He was very dramatic about how he would become homeless without Lisa's help, and how Lisa saved him from needing to live out of his car. Despite having a decently paying job and an apartment prior to his mental breakdown when he quit everything, he kept talking about how he was on the verge of homelessness. He displays classic signs of bipolar disorder, the ups and downs, mental breakdowns, seemingly endless energy in his manic phases, and extremely unhinged behavior when he's in a low period. He has mental health crises frequently, and Lisa is constantly needing to save him from another unaliving episode. He started a family cell plan with Lisa immediately after they started dating. He regularly tracks her phone location at all times. In addition to paying for his rent, she also pays for both their phone bills. Lisa does everything for Ishan, including setting up his medical appointments, doing all the cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc. As a result of her OCD and mental health issues and her stress with this relationship, She has a serious mental breakdown which required an intensive outpatient psychiatric program. In light of all this information, which we did not know when we agreed to let him stay with us, my family and I decided that her boyfriend is extremely sketchy, not trustworthy, and that we do not want him living in the house anymore. I am concerned that he is emotionally and financially abusing her, and have expressed this concern to her, which she denies. I've told her that as an adult I respect her right to make her own choices, but that I do not like this man, nor do I feel comfortable having him in my family home. My family made it clear to her that he must move out. We gave him 6 weeks to find a new place, and that if he comes to visit he cannot stay overnight, and that we need to be informed ahead of time. After this entire ordeal, Lisa has been avoiding me like the plague. She does not respond to my text messages. She usually ignores them for days, and may respond briefly sometimes, but usually doesn't. She also goes to extreme lengths to avoid me. She hides in her room and waits until I leave, then goes to the kitchen or bathroom. She has managed to avoid seeing me face to face for several weeks like this. I've told my parents this is an extremely uncomfortable situation and that I'm not sure if it's a good idea for Lisa to continue living here after everything that's happened, including the knife incident, which made me fear for my safety for several weeks before she went to the outpatient program. I'm a fairly compassionate and patient person, but this entire ordeal has deeply been impacting my sense of safety, mental health, peace, and security. They like her and want to give her a second chance, and I know it's ultimately their choice, not mine. But I don't have a lot of living options right now due to my medical issues, so I sort of just have to deal with this. Hellfreezer's note. Your parents sound like very good people, but maybe a little bit too good, because they're allowing this person to walk all over them. They're putting her needs ahead of yours, their own child, and that just can't stand. I think a very respectful but frank discussion needs to be had with your parents about the realities of the current situation that you're all in. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 34. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's also links in the description if you'd like to support the channel, such as Patreon, merchandise and such, and you can become a channel member if you would like to do so. Okay, I don't think we have any other business today, so let's have Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: do you find things unnecessarily made out of gold impressive or tacky? Like the fellow with the gold car. I mean, I'm assuming painted, not actual gold. Personally, I think it's just kind of tacky. There maybe was a point in my life when I was younger, I thought, oh, okay, that looks kind of cool. No, it's needless, it's pointlessly ostentatious, it's kind of wasteful, really. There's more useful things you could use that gold for. But let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one comes from Bad Roommates 33, and I think it was, do you always wear socks when you go out? And today's answer comes from Michelle Stewart. I hate the feeling of socks. Even minus 30. Sports socks are the worst. The fuzzy drive me crazy. Dress socks are a bit better, but still not a fan. Thank you very much for your answer, Michelle. And with that, I'm heading off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.